Okay, I think this video is long overdue. I am going to explain the link between the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, as well as the Polaris human trafficking hotline, how it connects back to the Clinton Foundation, and then we're going to connect it all back to the Sound of Freedom and the entire deceptive network that is pushing this film and the facts, the most convicting facts that they are choosing to ignore while we highlight some of their hypocrisy along the way. All right, buckle up, Buttercup.
The greatest legacy you can leave is to make a statement for your children.
Until now, there has been no such place to which one could turn in order to try to find and help these children.
I'm delighted to have the opportunity to help launch the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children.
A strong, loud voice for children.
1-800-THE-LOST.
Call the number on your screen right now.
We have technology to age photographs of missing children.
These operators do God's work.
I owe so much to the National Center. They saved my life.
I'm Jenny Ruxpin, the official spokesperson for the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children.
I'm driven. We're going to bring him home.
Code Adam was established as a tribute to my son.
The new cyber tip line will be using the internet to help catch child predators who operate online.
They were the major advocates behind the Amber Alert. Their work brought me home.
We dedicate it as the Children's Building.
But this is a building of hope. Thank you.
John Walsh became a national figure in 1981 when his 6-year-old son Adam was abducted from a department store. You may remember him as the host of America's Most Wanted, but he also founded the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children as part of legislation that the Walshes helped push through Congress. There is recent controversy surrounding his story as his daughter has come forward speaking out. I haven't had time to unravel that's truth or not, so I'm not going to focus on that. I just want to focus on the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. President Bush signed the Adam Walsh Child Protection and Safety Act of 2006, which did have harsher penalties for offenders, but it also created a new National Child Abuse Registry, and this gave Child Protective Service professionals access to this information. We know that we always have to read through the lines with legislation that looks good on the surface. The CPS makes money from stealing children or kidnapping your children for money. There is federal funding in place for the CPS to kidnap our children. This is too small to see, so I took a screenshot to zoom in. It is the Adoption and Legal Guardianship Incentive Payment Program. Okay, they are making $40 million, $36 million by this incentive program. So they gave the CPS access to this database that links to quote unquote abuse. And then they put federal funding in place to rehome your child. And as many of us know, there have been reports that these children have also been trafficked and just not in good care when they are taken by the CPS. So the NCMEC connects back to Lockheed Martin, but also Peter Thiel and Palantir Technologies. Peter Thiel's Palantir had listed some of its clients as the CIA, DHS, FBI, CDC, some military, and also the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. Since 2010, Palantir has partnered with NCMEC, providing our data integration software in support of its mission to help find missing children, reduce sexual exploitation, and prevent future victimization. So Peter Thiel has intelligence on the missing and abused children. All right, let's keep moving. Amber Ready Inc. sold software and kits to parents to keep a profile about their child in case they went missing. They selected the Podesta Group to be their PR firm. Working with Amber Ready to help inspire nationwide support for their innovative child safety solution should prove to be a very exciting and gratifying, stated Ed Rothschild, a principal of the Podesta Group. And here is a screenshot of the PR release in case you want it for your own records. We also know that Brian Podesta is an NCMEC business analyst. Here is a screenshot of his resume that he was a senior analyst at NCMEC. I did also find a video of a woman doing some research and sharing as she tried to connect this Brian Podesta to John Podesta.
And look what we have here. We have Jane, Brian, and PJ, his brother, at a White House lawn party in the early 90s with Bill Clinton. A photo from the 90s was somehow tucked away in one of our bookshelves. Visit to some party on the White House lawn when Jane Podesta and I still had 2 of our 3 kids at home. Where does the time go? Now, this is in the early 90s, guys. How do you think they got to this party on the White House lawn? I wonder, who was the chief of staff and the assistant to the president in the early 90s? Let's just take a trip to Wikipedia and let's see who was there. The Clinton years. Podesta served as both an assistant to the president and as deputy chief of staff. Earlier, from January 1993 to 1995, he was assistant to the president, staff secretary, and the senior policy advisor on the government information, privacy, telecommunications, security, and regulatory policy.
Okay, this is a timeline of Hillary's work specifically involving infants and children, and I'm going to hone in on some of the things that I think are important in regards to this video. You can see here in 1997, she promoted the nationwide immunization against childhood diseases, initiated and shepherded the Adoption and Safe Families Act, which provided funding for efforts in encouraging adoption. So the exact funding scheme that I mentioned earlier in this video. In 1999, she was instrumental in passing the Foster Care Independence Act, which launched the International Center for Missing and Exploited Children. Moving on, we see in 2009, she partnered with the Polaris Project, who runs the National Human Trafficking Resource Center and Hotline, to build an anti-trafficking approach replicable worldwide. In 2012, they hosted a Clinton Global Initiative conference focusing on human trafficking with former President Obama as a keynote speaker. So I want you to hear yourself and hear how ridiculous it is to say, why would the sound of freedom bring attention to something they are doing? And I need you to get over that hump and familiarize yourself with your enemy's tactics. They're the ones steering the narratives. They're the ones gatekeeping the truth. They're the ones creating the problem in order to give you the solution. The end will always justify the means. And this archived website proves just that. They actually say, responding to tragedy, created as a reaction to heinous crimes committed against children. We now take a proactive approach to child protection. And this was launched with Hillary Clinton. There's a lot more, but there's your direct connection to Clinton. Let's move on. Here is an archive website from the ClintonFoundation.org where they talk about the Polaris project, where they're going to build an anti-trafficking approach worldwide. At the bottom right, you'll see that there is a Center for Missing and Exploited Children partnership there. So the Polaris project was created. There is a direct link from the Polaris project to the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, and it does all connect back to the Clintons. Okay, so the Clinton Global Initiative partnered with the Polaris Project in 2009. The Polaris Project operates the National Human Trafficking Resource Center and runs the National Human Trafficking Hotline. Polaris is based out of DC, is funded by the Department of Health and Human Services. They create a database of organizations across the globe to monitor human trafficking. They state by enabling actors in the anti-human trafficking field to better locate, identify, and connect. So anyone who purports themselves to be an expert in anti-human trafficking should know this fact, and they shouldn't be utilizing this number, should they? Think about how they infiltrate and gatekeep legitimate patriots in every single way and avenue. They have an entire system to do it for child trafficking too. Started with them creating the entire database to trap children via Polaris, which is partnered with the Clinton Foundation. Peter Thiel from Palantir manages the intelligence behind the database. Then you have a Podesta on the inside. So don't tell me you want to help child trafficking victims and you were ignorant to the involvement of our own government and NGOs in it. So they create this database They claim it's the most comprehensive database of modern-day slavery organizations ever compiled for the public. And right there, they're telling you the truth. So now, let's go back to Sound of Freedom and some other organizations that use this number. All right, back to Sound of Freedom.
Who's paying for this movie to come about?
I think Jim's. Aren't you footing the bill? A great group of people have come together to invest in this production. Some of them, the Carlos Slim family is involved.
Really?
From Mexico.
For folks who don't know who Carlos Slim is, tell them who he is.
He's one of the wealthiest men in the world. Telecommunications in Mexico, Latin America. His son Patrick is the real the point of contact for that. He's very passionate about what we're doing and fighting trafficking.
Largest shareholder in the Times is Carlos Slim. Now, Carlos Slim, as you know, comes from Mexico. He's given many millions of dollars to the Clintons and their initiative. So Carlos Slim, largest owner of the paper from Mexico. Reporters at the New York Times, they're not journalists. They're corporate lobbyists for Carlos Slim and for Hillary Clinton.
Carlos Slim also gave $100 million to the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, worked alongside Clinton in Haiti, as well as many other times, many different fundings. He's also very close to the Rothschilds. Here's a photo of Mel Gibson with him. There's much more to dig here, but if you believe Bill Clinton is a catalyst to end human trafficking, you might as well believe that Tim Ballard is a catalyst to end human trafficking. Here's Operation Railroad, endorsing the National Human Trafficking Hotline, endorsing Ashton Kutcher. Ashton Kutcher is the founder of Thorn, described as digital anti-human trafficking software. Kutcher sits on the board of the McCain Institute next to Ernie Allen. The Thorn software is once again backed by Palantir, and all they're doing is really changing the mask. Same operation that was going on at the Clinton Foundation, just called something else because you found out what they were actually doing. Ernie Allen is a member of the McCain Institute and also longtime CEO of the NCMEC. So as you can see, cheering for the Sound of Freedom is like cheering for a human trafficking movie that was produced by the Clintons themselves. Here is Angel Studios. They might as well just put a billboard up advertising their connection to the Polaris Project, NCMEC, and the Clinton hotline number. This is the Child Liberation Foundation, founded by Knights Templar Paul Hutchinson, also ex-CIA, and promoting and pushing the Sound of Freedom and the Clinton hotline. Here is a photo of Tim Ballard with Craig Sawyer, who sabotaged the CMEX investigation in Arizona that Lewis Arthur found. He was a bodyguard for Hillary Clinton and John McCain, and then he later removed it and lies about it and gets extremely angry if you ever ask him about it. He, of course, references the NCMEC number. Now, let me show you some glaring hypocrisy. Here's Laura Logan, Flynn's child trafficking adrenochrome calling out sweetheart, insinuating that the cyber tip line for the NCMEC basically uses these intelligence services and uses it to control people and assets. Her words. While the film she's promoting is basically promoting them like a billboard. So does the Flynn organization, America's Future, the same one that Liz Crokin is advertising here, and the same one that she sits on the board with of their Project Defend and Protect Our Children Little Flower Advisory Board, along with another CIA member, Basil Baz, as well as Jacob Booyens, Liz Crokin, Brian, I Dress Like Antifa, Gamble at J6, and Laura, I Speak About Adrenochrome with No Agenda, Logan. And here's Laura Logan mocking anyone who dares question the Sound of Freedom, even though her hypocrisy is blinding. These people must be getting paid a ton of money to profit off the atrocity of child sex trafficking and exploit that notion. And don't give me that, oh, maybe they don't know. Because if they don't know, they have no business sitting on a board of an anti-trafficking organization.
I'm a long, long way. Now, the center is more needed than ever.